From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media, or Voice of America, on the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang in Review. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday welcomed Paraguayan President Santiago Peña Palacios to Malacañang as both leaders witnessed the signing of key agreements, including Memorandum of Understandings or MOUs on trade, diplomatic training, and a visa waiver deal for ordinary passport holders. In a joint press conference, President Marcos described their talks as productive and forward-looking, highlighting plans to deepen cooperation in agriculture, trade, and renewable energy. He also pointed to new opportunities for Philippine exports such as tuna, sardines, and milkfish. Both leaders endorsed stronger business linkages through an MOU between the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or PCCI, and Paraguay's Investment and Export Network, or REDIEX. They likewise welcomed the visa waiver agreement, expected to boost tourism and people-to-people exchanges, and noted the signing of an MOU on diplomatic training between their foreign ministries. President Marcos and Peña also exchanged views on political and regional developments, including the Philippines Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, 2026 chairship and Paraguay's leadership of Mercosur. The Philippine president expressed hope that the visit marks the beginning of a deeper friendship between the two nations. President Peña's trip is the first presidential-level visit between the Philippines and Paraguay since diplomatic ties were established in 1962.
We welcome the signing of the Memoranda of Agreement between the Philippines and the Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Paraguay's Investment and Export Network, or REDIEX, a pivotal step in establishing contacts between Philippine and Paraguayan companies. I commend the PCCI for this groundbreaking initiative. Complementing the establishment of institutional and commercial linkages is today signing of a visa waiver agreement for ordinary passport holders of the Philippines and Paraguay, which the President and I hope will expedite business tourism and people-to-people exchanges between our two countries. The President and I likewise welcome today's signing of an MOU on mutual cooperation in the field of diplomatic training between the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Paraguayan Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which will redound to closer engagements between Filipino and Paraguayan diplomats. President Peña and I also shared political and economic developments in our respective countries and exchanged views on the regional issues such as our ASEAN 2026 chairship and Paraguay's presidency of Mercosur I. I express my hope that President Peña's landmark visit is only the beginning of the deepening friendship and partnership between the Philippines and Paraguay.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Malacañang.
Also on Monday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. expressed confidence that the Philippines and Paraguay are poised to deepen cooperation following his bilateral meeting with Paraguayan President Santiago Peña Palacios at Malacañang. In his toast remarks during the official luncheon, President Marcos said their discussions opened new avenues for partnership in agriculture, trade, renewable energy, and people-to-people exchanges. He added that both nations also aim to strengthen coordination in regional and multilateral platforms, including the United Nations. The President extended the Philippines' well wishes to Paraguay as it marks its 215th Independence Day, with First Lady Luisa Araneta Marcos joining the event. President Marcos highlighted the historic nature of President Peña's visit, the first presidential-level visit in 63 years of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Raising a toast, the President wished continued success and good health for President Peña and his family, prosperity for the people of Paraguay, and a stronger Philippines-Paraguay partnership.
I acknowledge the historic nature of your presence here today, as your official visit marks the very first presidential visit in the 63 years of Philippines-Paraguay diplomatic relations. With the productive conclusion of our bilateral meeting earlier today, I am confident that our two countries will forge closer cooperation in several areas such as in agriculture, trade, renewable energy, and people-to-people exchanges. To the continued success and good health of His Excellency President Santiago Peña Palacios, First Lady Leticia Ocampos de Peña, and their family. To the sustained progress and prosperity of the people of Paraguay, and on the 215th year of its independence, and to the strengthened bond between the Philippines and Paraguay towards a shared future where opportunities abound.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Tuesday emphasized the importance of fairness and due process in the impeachment proceedings against Vice President Sara Duterte, stating that the government will not meddle in Senate deliberations. Following Senator Alan Peter Cayetano's election as new Senate leader, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro stated that the administration respects legislative freedom.
Well, everything that happens in the Senate it is within their power, it is within the authority to decide on all matters within the Senate. So, hindi po panghihimasukan ng Pangulo yung anuman po ang magiging desisyon ng Senado.
Senate presidency on Monday afternoon after Senator Vicente Soto III was removed, just as the House of Representatives voted to impeach Duterte for the second year in a row, accusing him of culpable violations of the Constitution, graft and corruption, betrayal of public trust, bribery, and other higher crimes. Castro believes members in the House made their judgment based on data and papers offered to them. She highlighted that the Senate is now responsible for deciding if and how the impeachment process would proceed.
Ating pagkakaalam, ang pinakahuling tala ng botohan na para ma-impeach ang Vice Presidente ay 257. Okay? Nagdesisyon po ang House of Representatives at nakita malamang nila ang mga ebidensya, sabi nga nila ay mas dumami pa ang sumang-ayon na ma-impeach sa pangalawang pagkakataon ang Vice Presidente, at ito marahil ay ayon sa mga nakita nila na mga documents or mga ebidensya na maaaring maging dahilan para ma-impeach ang Vice Presidente. At sana kapag ito ay napunta na rin sa Senado, ay maging patas ang mga manghuhusga, ang mga senador natin, para ito naman ay sa taong bayan. So, nagsalita na po ang House of Representatives at ito po naman ay kanilang trabaho at hindi po ito sinasaklawan ng Pangulo. Trabaho po ito ng Senado. So, hindi po manghihimasok ang Pangulo. Nasa Senado na po yan, nasa kamay na po yan ng Senado. At kung ano man po ang gagawin nila dyan, kung ito po ay papabor para sa taong bayan, o papabor lang sa iisang tao, bahala na po ang taong bayan na humusga para sa kanila.
That was Palace Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Tuesday said the Senate's protective custody over Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa has legal limitations, noting that Philippine laws would govern any action in connection with the International Criminal Court or ICC's arrest warrant issued against him. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro, a lawyer, said Republic Act or RA 9851 or the Philippine Act on Crimes Against International Humanitarian Law, genocide, and other crimes against humanity governs the matter despite the Philippines' withdrawal from the ICC. In a Palace Press briefing, Castro noted that under Section 17 of RA 9851, the Philippines may defer to an international tribunal already conducting an investigation.
Ang nagsampa po kasi ng kaso sa ICC ay kapwa natin Pilipino. At meron din po tayong obligasyon sa Interpol, meron din po tayong obligasyon na ang lahat ng dapat na managot ay managot. Dahil dapat din po natin proteksyonan yung mga di umano na nabiktima ng EJK. At ayon sa RA 9851 at maliwanag to sa Section 17, na kung meron na pong nakapagsimula na state or international tribunal patungkol sa pag-iimbestiga, ay pwede nating i-defer. Pwede nating i-waive yung ating karapatan at ibigay na sa international court ang pagpapaimbestiga. At yun lamang din po ang sinusunod ng RA natin dito sa RA 9851.
Castro said the Department of Justice or DOJ had earlier stated that there are only two options under the law, either surrender or extradition. She added that a Supreme Court circular on extradition applies only to requests from a state and not from the ICC. Asked how authorities could enforce a warrant if the Senate grants De La Rosa a protective custody, Castro said senators' privileges are not absolute.
Meron po na natawag na privilege para hindi po hulihin ang sinumang senador habang nasa session kapag siya po ay nasa vicinity ng Senado. But alam po natin na ito ay may limitasyon. Kapag ka po ang isang krimen na nagawa ay may penalty na more than 6 years, hindi po mag-a-apply itong pribilehiyo na ito.
With regard to concerns that the Senate could be used as a sanctuary for De La Rosa, Castro said lawmakers should know the limits of their authority, telling them that they should not go beyond the law. Castro also stressed that the Philippines has obligations to Interpol to ensure accountability. Pressed further about De La Rosa's appeal for protection from President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., Castro said all parties, including alleged extrajudicial killing victims and accused persons, are entitled to protection under the law. Castro, however, emphasized that President Marcos has consistently directed law enforcement agencies to follow the law. She added that if De La Rosa is arrested, his rights as an accused would be respected. De La Rosa, named by the ICC as an indirect co-perpetrator in former President Rodrigo Duterte's drug war, returned to work on Monday after hiding for several months. Castro called on Duterte and De La Rosa supporters to respect lawful process and not sow violence.
Maski naman po yung mga EJK victims ay humihingi rin po ng proteksyon sa gobyerno. So, ang akusadong katulad ni Senator Bato ay humingi ng proteksyon. Lahat naman po ay bibigyan ng proteksyon na naaayon sa batas. Ang lagi naman pong utos ng Pangulo sa lahat ng enforcement agencies, sa lahat po ng pagkakataon, hindi lamang po dito patungkol kay Senator Bato, dapat lamang ay sumunod kung ano ang sinasabi ng batas. Hindi po kinakailangang magkagulo. Alamin lamang ang batas, sumunod sa batas, at hindi kinakailangang gamitin ang puwersa. Hindi kailangang gamitin ang mga harassment na nagagaling sa iba't ibang kampo.
Press Officer Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. underscored that no state security forces were involved in the shooting event inside the Senate building and refuted rumors that government agents were ordered to arrest Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. In a taped statement, President Marcos stated that he personally observed the situation for more than 2 hours and worked immediately with law enforcement agencies following the incident. The president stated that he immediately contacted Philippine National Police or PNP authorities and then spoke with National Bureau of Investigation or NBI Director Melvin Matibag to confirm claims that armed people had infiltrated the Senate building. He clarified that the uniformed individuals visible within the Senate facility were ordinary security and police personnel assigned to the Senate, as well as Senate Sergeant-at-Arms officers. President Marcos further stated that NBI personnel who had been around the Supreme Court area earlier in the day were asked to depart before the event occurred. The president reassured the public that the administration was not responsible for the disturbance and urged calm as the authorities conducted parallel investigations.
Ang sunod na tawag ko naman ay sa NBI at tinanong ko sa mga NBI at kay Director Matibag, kayo ba ay pumasok sa Senado? Sabi niya, wala kang instruction. Ang sabi sa akin, wala kang instruction, sir. Kaya ba't namin gagawin yun? Kaya masasabi ko sa ating mga kababayan, wala pong instruction kahit na kanino na hulihin si Senator Bato. At ang nangyari, ang NBI, sinabihan ko nung lumabas yung resolution ng Supreme Court, mga alas 4 yung kaninang hapon, ay sinabi ko, umalis na kayo dyan. Nag-comply naman sila. Kaya nung kausap ko si Director Matibag, sabi niya walang NBI doon, nandito lahat kami sa opisina. We will get to the bottom of this. Aalamin natin kung sino ang gumawa nitong gulo na ito. Ito ba ay talagang nagka-inkwentro lang o ito ba ay may kasama sa mga distab o nagsusimula ng gulo? Kailangan po natin malaman yan. Kaya mag-iimbestiga sabay ang Senado at saka ang PNP tungkol dito. Masasabi ko lang at para hindi po mag-alala ang taong bayan, hindi po gobyerno ang gumawa nito. Walang pumasok na tigalabas na sundalo, na militar, na NBI sa Senado. Hindi po natin alam kung sino yon na sumubok na pumasok at saka dahil doon ay nagkaputukan. Aalamin po natin at kinukuha po natin, kinukulikta natin ngayon lahat ng ebidensya na nandiyan.
Amid heightened tensions surrounding reports of an alleged international criminal court arrest warrant against De La Rosa over the Duterte administration's anti-drug campaign. The Senate had previously become the center of political controversy, sparking debate over the scope of congressional authority and the jurisdiction of law enforcement agencies. The Senate had previously become the center of political controversy due to debates of placing De La Rosa under Senate protective custody, raising debate about the scope of congressional authority and the jurisdiction of law enforcement authorities. Authorities have yet to provide comprehensive facts about the alleged gunshot event and any injuries. As events progressed, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, confirmed that the Marine troops stationed at the Senate were there merely to assist with security operations. It further stated that soldiers seen inside the premises were summoned by the Office of the Sergeant-at-Arms, or OSAA, to help them in securing the facility.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Thursday clarified what triggered the gunfire that sent the Senate into lockdown Wednesday evening, saying Senate Sergeant-at-Arms and retired Police Major General Mau Aplasca fired the first warning shot during the tense standoff. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said National Bureau of Investigation or NBI agents had already identified themselves before any gunfire erupted. Castro emphasized that NBI personnel did not initiate any assault, countering circulating claims and online speculation. The Palace statement follows a night of confusion and conflicting accounts after gunshots were heard inside the Senate compound. Heightened tensions surrounding Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, who is facing an International Criminal Court or ICC warrant over killings linked to the Duterte administration's drug war. Castro, citing information from several sources, said De La Rosa is already out of the Senate building amid heightened tension over the possible enforcement of the ICC warrant.
At sa puntong ito, gusto nating linawin. Una, walang assault na ginawa ang NBI agents sa Senado. At pangalawa, walang operasyon ang NBI o PNP na arestuhin si Senator Bato. Pero bago nito, noong nakita ng OSAA na mayroong NBI agent sa GSIS, katabi ng Blue Guard, nakita na agad na naka-gear up ang OSAA, nag-vest at naghanda sa isang operasyon. Pagdating sa bridge sa GSIS premises, tinanong ng OSAA ang NBI agent na nakaupo, lamang kasama nga ang isang Blue Guard ng GSIS. Nagpakilala na NBI agents at nung nagsabi sila ng kanilang pagkakakilanlan, agad nagpaputok ng warning shot si Sergeant-at-Arms Mau Aplasca. At dahil doon, napilitan ding magpaputok ng warning shot ang NBI agent. As of 11:09 a.m., several sources confirmed that the Senator Bato, is no longer in the Senate premises. But we are still getting official confirmation on the report.
In the same briefing, Philippine National Police or PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said around 30 shots were fired, allegedly coming from the Senate side. NBI Director Melvin Matibag explained that agents were deployed near the Senate only to secure the adjacent Government Service Insurance System or GSIS compound, which shares a perimeter wall with the Senate. He reiterated that the NBI team was not sent to arrest De La Rosa and had standing orders not to approach the senator, who remains under the Senate's protective custody. Matibag also addressed viral videos showing individuals drilling near an access point between the Senate and GSIS. He said the activity was part of efforts to secure the shared access area after GSIS raised concerns about unauthorized movement. He added that a man identified online as Mel Oragon is not an NBI employee, but a volunteer driver serving as a force multiplier, a practice he described as common during operations. Authorities are now piecing together the full sequence of events behind what has become one of the most dramatic security incidents at the Senate in recent years.
Yung request po kasi sa amin na sulat na aking natanggap ng alas 5:08 p.m. po kahapon mula po kay GM Vic Veloso is to secure and panatilihin po yung kapayapaan and peace and order. So pag may request pong ganun, talaga pong nakabihis naman po ng ano tawag dito, yung pong kanilang ordinary gear na ganyan, dala po talaga yung mga ganyan na arms. Ano po. Nakita ko rin po yung video na yan at kung makikita nyo naman po, yung mga suot ng tao nagdi-drill, hindi naman po pang assault. Ang nagdi-drill po, tinatanggal po nila yung lock because the access from the Senate going to GSIS, yung susi po, ang report po sa akin ni GM Veloso is nandoon po sa Senate. Ang gusto po niya, isara po yung lugar na yon kasi nga po, labas-masok na raw po ang iba't ibang tao, hindi na po masecure yung lugar at yung mga employees. So yung primary concerns po niya. Kaya kung makita niyo po yung video, drilling, tapos hinarangan po ng mga metal cabinet para hindi po madaanan na yung lugar po na yon. Well, sa ngayon po, when binalidate po namin yung pong aming records ng aming po mga ahente at mga employees, siya po ay hindi po opisyal na empleyado ng NBI. Ngunit nung akin pong nagkaroon na po ako ng sariling investigasyon, lumalabas po na siya ay parang volunteer kasama po ng mga ahente po. No? Doon po sa katanungan kung alaw humawak ng baril, yun po kasi yung nakita na naglalakad, pinahawak. Pero yung actual naman po na pangyayari, wala naman po siyang access po dun sa baril na hawak-hawak po niya. Sa driver po ng grupo po, yun po yung report sa akin ng mga NBI. But officially, he is not a member or employee po ng National Bureau of Investigation. Kasi po sa mga operation po namin, just to educate po ang ating pong publiko, lahat po, pag operations po kasi, meron po talaga mga tinatawag na force multipliers, yung mga volunteer po. Para po kasi sa kakulangan po ng tao, tsaka meron po din kami tinatawag na mga alpha or assets, yan po na rin yung mga ginagamit namin to solicit intelligence report po para sa aming mga operations po.
National Bureau of Investigation Director Melvin Matibag.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. visited Pampanga Province on Thursday to inspect the facilities and services of the newly built state-of-the-art Pampanga Provincial Hospital or PPH Clark, the first government hospital inside the Clark Freeport Zone. President Marcos toured the three-story medical center inaugurated just last April 29th and checked on patients currently admitted. Located at Changi Gateway in Clark City Global, the 9,259 square meter hospital is designed to serve not only Pampanga residents but also more than 151,000 workers, investors, and business locators inside the free port. Built to meet Department of Health or DOH Level 2 standards, PPH Clark is equipped with modern diagnostic technology, including CT scan units, X-ray machines, endoscopy systems, and mammogram equipment. It offers a full range of services such as OB-GYN, ICU, NICU, radiology, laboratory, pulmonary, cardiovascular, dental, and dietary care. The hospital is also seeking PhilHealth accreditation to provide Yaman ng Kalusugan or YAKAP benefits, free consultations, lab tests, screenings, and medicines for Filipinos. PPH Clark has 143 beds, including 17 private rooms, 16 semi-private rooms, and 110 ward beds. Construction cost 601 million pesos with an additional 115.59 million pesos from the Pampanga provincial government for equipment and hospital systems. Another 140.57 million pesos worth of medical equipment and supplies came from donations. Beyond healthcare, the hospital is expected to boost local employment, generating around 401 jobs once fully operational.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, residents of Pampanga received rice assistance, educational support, and local government aid on Thursday under Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s Bagong Pilipinas Rice Program and Bawat Bayan Makikinabang initiative. The programs form part of the administration's push to bring government services directly to communities and assist sectors most affected by economic hardship. Speaking at the rollout held at the Clark Civil Aviation Complex, the President underscored his goal of ensuring that no Filipino goes hungry. Under the Bagong Pilipinas Rice Program, beneficiaries received an initial 10 kilograms of premium rice, which will be distributed every 2 months for 1 year to help ease household expenses and strengthen community food security. Beneficiaries include indigenous peoples, solo parents, cancer and dialysis patients, farm workers, persons with disabilities, household helpers, and low-income individuals. The rice distributed was purchased directly from Pampanga farmers. Meanwhile, hundreds of barangays or villages in Pampanga were granted 200,000 pesos each under the Bawat Bayan Makikinabang initiative for community and education projects. Of the total amount, 100,000 pesos will fund priority barangay needs such as administrative equipment, streetlights, and disaster risk reduction tools. The remaining 100,000 pesos will provide financial assistance to 5 financially challenged graduating students per barangay, each receiving 20,000 pesos. During the event, President Marcos also led the turnover of a 6.6 million peso check for Angeles City under the Local Government Support Fund and 101 million pesos for Pampanga under the Socio-Civic Project Fund.
Ito po ay para mahanapan namin ng paraan upang makatulong naman sa wala nang yung pangarap ko po para sa Pilipinas ay masabi lang natin na wala nang gutom na Pilipino. Hindi ko po tayo, tinatrabaho po natin yan. At kahit mabutit, marami na rin tayong nagawa. At sana matupad ang aking pangarap na makita na sa pagka binigay sa akin ng mga statistiko, ay sasabihin nila, wala nang gutom na Pilipino. Kaya yan po ang dahilan dito sa binibigay nating bigas na nanggaling sa Local Government Support Fund. Ang isa pang programa na ibinibigay din namin ay para naman sa mga barangay. Kaya nandito po ang ating mga ABC at nagbibigay tayo ng tulong din sa mga barangay. Ito naman, ang pondong pinagalingan dito, yung tawag ay Socio-Civic Project Fund, SCPF. Ito po, ang ginawa po naman namin dyan, kada barangay, bibigyan natin ng tigda 200,000 piso. Okay, 200,000 bawat barangay. Ang hiningi lang namin sa mga barangay officials na yung 100,000 na doon, kalahati nun, ay gagamitin natin pang scholarship. Yung scholarship, bawat barangay, 5 scholarship, tig 20,000 lahat ang binibigay. Kayo rin ang mamimili kung sino ang sa palagay ninyo ang talagang dapat tulungan. Ang lagi kong pinapayo na hanapin ninyo yung mga malapit nang magtapos, pero baka hindi magtapos dahil nagkulang sa pambayad, kung ano man. Kailangan magtrabaho, ito para makatulong at para naman magkaroon na sila ng diploma.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 15.640 MHz, 17.750 MHz, and 21.720 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang in Review. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
from the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.